What's up, everyone? It's Mr.StealUrGurl here, coming at you with something brand new. That's right, I've been talking at it for the last few videos, and I got with me the man, the creator of the Supreme Commander 2 2013 mod. Say what's up, Hot Hollow Point.
Hello, everybody. How's it going today?
And that commander animation is absolutely gorgeous. I'm zooming in at I Am the Slaw right now and going to Hot Hollow Point, and those were some beautiful animations. How did you do that?
It's just I took the hunker animation, added some teleport effects, decal, smoking stuff, you know, just all the stuff that's already in the game. Could have easily been implemented, and I just did it.
I have to tell you that it looks gorgeous, and I just noticed that the UEF factories have shields on them.
Yeah, that's right. Each faction has a lot more diversity than they did in the vanilla version. One of the ways that the factions are differentiated is with their factories. And the UEF gets shields off the start. And the Aeon gets tactical missile launchers.
I see the TAC missile launcher right on it, right out the gate.
Yep. They get it for free. In addition to that, the UEF factories actually produce a little bit of mass, and the Aeon factories produce a little bit of extra energy. Oh, well that's nice. What about the Cybran? We don't have a Cybran in here. The Cybran players, their factories, they start with intel, like radar upgrade, and anti-air upgrade, and their factories produce a little bit of research.
That's beautiful. So, hey, remind me again where I could put camera anchors for people at home.
Okay, sure. That's actually something I re-implemented. You can push the F3 key, and it'll cycle through any cameras that you have set. And in order to set a camera, you just hold Shift and then push F3. So I'm sure Steel's probably doing an example of that right now. He'll hold Shift, he'll push F3. He'll go somewhere else on the map. He'll hold Shift and push F3. And then he can just push F3 after that and cycle between.
And I did. And I noticed the mass extractors for the Aeon player. Well, you are the Aeon player.
Yeah, that's right.
Spawning in a little cloud around them. What is that exactly?
Each mass extractor has a healing nanite cloud on it now as sort of an impromptu base defense for the Aeon faction.
That looks beautiful. I do enjoy that. So what do the other players get for the base?
Well, there's actually quite a few differences as far as the economy and the bases go. The UEF, as I mentioned, they get the free shields on their factories. That's their sort of defensive perk. They still get the same upgrades from vanilla, where you can turn your mass extractors and research stations into point defense as well. The UEF doesn't really get any extra economy other than their upgrades on their structures. However, as you'll see in a little while, once I Am the Slaw puts up a research station and gets the upgrade for it, it's possible to overdrive them, meaning you can change energy into research.
Wow.
Now that may sound overpowered, but at the same time, the Aeon can overdrive their mass extractors, so they can turn any extra energy into mass right from the start of the game.
Wow.
And the Cybran can also do something similar. They can change energy into mass. They get free mass conversion, and their mass converters are like old school 1.0 Subcom 2 vanilla. Their mass conversion is on their P-gen, their power generator. So they can just plunk a power generator down, and they've got mass conversion right from the start of the game. That really helps to, even though you don't start with as many engineers and you sort of have to build up your economy, it does help your economy build faster into the mid and late game, and as you'll see, we'll end up with quite huge battles.
Yeah. That sounds awesome. I mean, that sounds like a totally different play style. It's almost like getting a brand new game for free, essentially.
Well, it is, and pretty much I reused all the same content from Subcom 2. I didn't really add anything new per se. Any new units I added are just repurposed models from the vanilla version for the time being. but I added a lot of new abilities. I changed a lot of the stats in the units, the sizes, the distances that they fire, the speeds that their projectiles go at, in order to make everything a little more realistic looking and better scale-wise.
Wow.
And change the movement speeds and the turn speeds and everything, so that's it feels like you're actually manipulating real tanks, not just little toys like you are in vanilla. I changed the colors of the units so it's a little more, a little less cartoony, a little more
gritty.
adult
yeah,
yeah.
Looks a little more gritty. It looks like real, like the black and red of on HoT factory and ACO. I think it actually looks a lot nicer, to be honest with you. So I dig that.
Well, I tried to unify the colors too, so if you ever play multiple UEF people on the same team, all of their base colors will be like that steely blue that you see, and then whatever color that they've picked as their secondary color will be their team color, or whatever you want to call it.
I see.
Will be the accents.
I dig that.
Whereas I'm playing as a white Aeon, so you notice my factories are mostly white, and they've got like the little green accents on them.
Yeah.
If I were to pick like blue, then what's white on my factory now would be like a sort of a bluish tinge. If I were to pick red, it would be sort of like a bright red pinkish tinge.
Oh, so the
orange, it looks sort of like metallic.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut in there. That's red.
No, it's okay. Yeah.
So the green is the accent color that all players would have.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's switched up for Aeon. The accent is like the non-accent parts.
Well, that looks nice. So it's like a reverse of the UEF.
That's right. And then for Cybran, the Cybran gets, instead of like a dark steely blue as their main, they get like a dark steely red, and then whatever color they pick is their stripes and whatnot.
That looks nice. So I've noticed units seem to be a whole lot smaller in this game, in this version. So why did you do that?
That was just sort of a scale thing that sort of made me a little perturbed about the vanilla game. The fact that the tanks looked so big, but could only shoot like 4 or 5 times the length of what they're, so think of a tank. What's a tank going to be in real life? 10 meters?
Yeah.
So the tank could fire like 50 meters. It's like now the tank is, the tank actually looks like it's that size versus the tree perhaps or whatever.
So you're talking...
And then you'll see...
realism.
Sorry,
here.
go ahead.
I'm sorry, exactly. You're talking realism.
Yeah, a little bit of realism. I mean, I know it's harder to see the units and whatnot, and then it also gives a little more scale to your base and your factories. And once you get an experimental, it feels like an experimental unit because it's like 20 times the size of your tanks. That was just one of my minor gripes about the original vanilla version.
Right. Yeah. You're not criticizing. You're just. I mean, you're just saying that this is what you would prefer, and therefore you did it.
Exactly. Yep. And I mean, even the 1.26 version, they shrunk their land models a bit. That's in the changelog.
They did.
So I mean, even the game developers weren't totally satisfied. And I started this mod long before 1.26 came out. So
you did.
That was
you did.
Something I did, and then they shrunk it, not to the same extreme that I did, but.
So when did you start this mod? 2012?
Yeah, that sounds about right. And then I had put on the back burner for a few years because I was doing some real life stuff, building up my business in real life, and then I came back to it when I had the time.
All right. Yeah, I mean that's life happens, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, I'm pretty much I do all the coding and whatnot on the mod alone, all the statistic changes.
All by yourself?
All that stuff. Yeah, for the most part. There's been a couple things like the camera angles. I borrowed that from one of the other modders. So I learned obviously by poking through other modders' work. So anybody who wants to learn modding, feel free to grab my mod and poke through the files and learn how things work. So it's a really rewarding experience, in my opinion.
Yeah. So do you have any way that you could be supported doing this, like a Patreon page or anything such as that?
Not at the time being. I mean, if people really catch on the mod and feel like that's that they'd like to donate, then I mean, I do have a PayPal account that I could give to people in private if they're interested in donating.
All right, that sounds like a good thing.
Yeah, I'm not in it for the money, to be honest. I'm in it just because I loved SubCom 2 when I played it. I'm not sure if people have ever browsed the leaderboards, but I honestly don't play this game anymore. But I think I'm probably still in like the top, 15 or top 20 of most wins. Like that's how much I played this game back in
I
the day.
I do recall when I was really active in the game back in
Yeah.
2011, 2012. You were way up there, and I saw you on all the time.
Yep.
Oh,
But
here's
then I got bored of playing it, and then I was mostly a 2v2 player, so I started playing 1v1s, and then I noticed that's when I really started noticing a lot of the glaring issues, in my opinion, with the game. So I started modding, and that
right.
was the rest was history.
You do see the glaring issues with balancing, especially in the
Yeah.
1v1s for sure. And
Well, and I was like a pretty good player, so I was playing a lot of the best players and learning alongside them. And they taught me a lot. And once you figure out all these little things, it's like some things were even just almost unbeatable, in my opinion. Like I think some of it got patched out in 1.26. I didn't really play much of 1.26, honestly,
Right.
because I moved on to my mod. But there were some builds you could do where you could be in a person's face with 40 tanks by the 2.5 minute mark, and there's nothing they could do about it.
I do recall the 125 had a lot of like things that were just totally bogus. Like the
Yeah.
early, like this has happened on open palms to me all the time. You draw UEF, your opponent draws Aeon. It's pretty much GG because they do the double air factory opener, double air factory, one land factory, and they just push in your base with the 2 air, and there's
Yep.
nothing the UEF could do.
Indeed.
Unless,
I mean, even if you spammed fighters, what do you got? After you spam fighters and take the air, you've lost the ground war, and you've got hooray for you, you've got air supremacy, but you can't bomb anything.
right. That's exactly what happened. So the UEF player was in horrible, it was just a terrible experience.
Yeah.
But
I'm not saying the mod's not perfectly balanced. Like, I'll be honest, we've only got a small playtesting team. There's about 3 of us that play consistently, and but 5 or 6 that come and go here or there.
so are people
there's
able?
a limited amount of meta.
Gotcha. So are people allowed to join your playtesting team, or would you be open to that?
I would love people if they would like to play, if they'd like to do some competitive games. We're more than open to anybody coming and joining the team. All you need to do so is just to download Discord, and the Discord channel is posted on the ModDB page, or you can friend me on Steam. You can feel free to stick my friend URL in the description of the video.
Who's your friend?
Any of that stuff, man. Oh, like my Steam ID. I'll give you my Steam ID.
All right. You know what? I actually have the mod. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to talk over you.
Yeah, no, it's okay.
I actually have your mod manager in my descriptions. I don't know if you've noticed that. It's been in there since I started announcing you.
Cool.
And I also have the Discord, I believe. It's somewhere
Beautiful.
buried in there. Good luck, guys, because I have people have been complaining about my descriptions being super long, but I have.
Well,
Yeah.
I was gonna say we are on Google. All you gotta do is Google Supreme Commander 2013 or Subcom 2013, and you'll get the ModDB page, and the Discord link should be on there.
Wonderful.
And
So
I invite everybody and anybody to please come and play, because we want some more players. I want more people to learn and get a different meta coming, and expose some of the balance issues that I know are probably hidden away that the balance team hasn't found, just because we're only 6 of us. We can only play so much.
right. So we've found many ways to get a hold of you. So hopefully people do that. And I've noticed that the artillery fire a lot like artillery in more realistic settings. Like it arcs up, and it splits before it explodes. I think that's pretty rad with the UEF
Yeah, it's all
artillery.
well, I think the base game vanilla had the same exploding effect at the end of it, but that was just a matter of changing a few of the statistics to make it fire farther instead of being such short ranged. Like, that was one of my complaints from vanilla. Everything sort of doesn't really fire far enough.
Yeah, it feels like
And then,
everything's super close range.
Yep. And so I changed the muzzle velocity. That's just one of the things you can change that affects how far the arc and whatnot.
Well, that
So just a lot of fine tuning.
that's pretty rad.
Yeah.
So we got a little battle going on here down on the south side over the south
Yep.
side. Yeah. So
Now you will notice you're probably watching at game speed 0, and things do look like they're going at a crawl, but when you play online by default it is game speed 1, so things are a little bit faster.
well, I'm gonna put the game speed on 1, so to give the people
Sure.
a proper field. So I'm gonna do that in 3, 2, 1, go.
Yeah, I'm at about 1430.
I'm at
my time.
I'm at 1512.
Okay.
So you might want to get up to me. So okay, yeah, this game speed 1 feels a whole lot better. I probably should have started it off that way because people are probably gonna think the game is slow. Maybe I should maybe we should redo this video. Nah.
Nah, we'll be good. We had a lot to talk about to introduce some of the stuff anyways, so.
Right. So yeah, game speed 1. This feels better actually. This feels more. Everything's moving faster. It feels right. And
Yeah, I think that was just a mistake on GPG's part, on the developer's part. They have game speed 1 as the default for online matches for some reason, and that's how everything was balanced.
I see. And replays are always on game speed 0.
I think they start at 0, yes.
Wow, that's not good.
Have you never noticed that over the years?
I actually never did, because I always would.
That's in vanilla too.
I'd always pop it up the +2 on my my replays when I actually cast them because, you know, I felt like if I sped it up a little bit, like it would be more enjoyable for people to watch because there's always that base building phase.
Yep. Well, even the only reason that I sat here and watched it with you at normal speed is because we were talking, right? We had something to talk about.
Of course. And this engineer here has a little bubble around it. I think that looks amazing.
Yeah, and that's, you know, any of the larger units. The units are sort of, some of them I left at the default size, like the Shotcha, so now it looks larger compared to the tanks. The engineer I left at default size. A lot of them get like a little bubble shield on them.
Which makes sense.
So that, yeah, a little differentiation.
Yeah.
You know, makes it sort of like a tier 2 unit almost.
Yeah, like the construction unit definitely needs to be a little bit bigger because it, you know, it builds, right?
Yeah. Building those giant factories and the mexes and stuff wouldn't look right if it was the size of a tank.
Yeah, definitely not. It looked kind of weird. But, yeah, I mean, it seems like this game has a little bit of a slower startup, but I could almost guarantee with the amount of units on the field already, it's probably going to be way more intense later on in terms of micro, right?
Indeed, yeah. It's the pace of the game has definitely changed versus the vanilla version. Like by this time, the vanilla version, half the games would be done, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
You'd have bombed the other person in submission, or you'd have enough tanks to teleport around, or you would have rushed megas and whatever works, artillery, blah blah.
Right.
Blah.
Right.
But now it's a little more paced like the original Supreme Commander, I find.
Yeah, I was getting
where it's a little more base building, and the units they don't engage, at the same real times as they did in vanilla. But you're right, you'll end up, and it all depends on your play style. This is just me and the way Slaw and I play against each other. When I play other people on the playtesting team that are, different skills and different play styles, the battles turn out differently. Play on different maps, you end up with different units.
Yeah, well, yeah, that makes sense because you don't want to have the same play style for like a small map and a large map.
Yeah, exactly. Even like the most played maps that we play are probably Open Palms and Powderhorn Mesa. And Mesa's good because it's you find a lot of people use assault bots on Mesa because you got the flanks.
Oh. Are those
the assault bots? They move a lot faster than tanks or really anything else land-based that's tier 1. So you can flank them around and get your guys, your opponents, mexes and engineers and whatnot from the back of their base.
So are those researched or are those you get what I'm saying? Those researched or they
it's the same as vanilla where Cybran gets assault bots and light artillery to start.
Okay.
And then the UEF has to research their artillery and their assault bot, but they get a tank, and Aeon obviously gets tanks. No artillery, but they get like the Shotcha and the brand new to the game, the capture tank. Brand new to the mod, I should say.
So that kind of replaces the artillery for the Aeon.
Somewhat, yeah. It's not really if you're facing Brackman, which are the Siren's mobile artillery, or Demolishers, which are the UEF's light artillery, you're not going to counter it with loyalty tanks. It acts a lot like their artillery in that you can post it up somewhere on a hill on a different plane and start capturing tanks, and there's nothing they can do to shoot you back because you're on a hill or whatever.
So you would
and
say,
and they do take care of larger groups of units than say your tanks would, and they have longer range than a typical tank.
Nice. So you would say that this fixes some balancing issues with the land game a little bit.
Oh, I definitely tried to, yeah. Something, for example, the Urch now. I don't think I build any in this game. And the Urch now is like right now pretty much on par with the Megalith. And
really?
Not quite on par with the Fat Boy, but the Fat Boy costs more, both research-wise and mass-wise, so you would justify them being the same. So there's more. Again, that's just faction diversity.
Nice. So you'd say it's more of a like short-ranged experimental, like the Megalith, right?
Yeah, the Megalith and the Urchinows are much. They're different, but they're much more equal. Like the Megaliths now come with stealth on them, so you can use stealth to your advantage if you're Siren, and they move faster than the Urchinow. I think they do more DPS maybe, but the Urchinow has better maneuverability. Like it can turn around on a dime since it's a hover unit, and it can shoot a little bit further with its artillery that it has on it, and it has more health, way more health, so it can withstand the attacks from the Megaliths, which actually I renamed on a totally unrelated subject. I renamed the Megaliths to Microliths because I didn't feel that they were worthy of the Megalith name based on this Forged Alliance version of it.
Makes sense to me. I'm watching these battles here, and they look gorgeous. Like the projectile speed seems to be faster.
Yeah.
And I really like the way the Aeon...
More realism, I think, is what you're probably trying to say.
Right.
Looks a little more realistic.
I like the way it looks. Oh, and the Botobooms have shields.
They do, yes.
So
in addition, when you upgrade your units with shields, the Botoboom now gets upgraded with a bubble shield.
Wow. So do they boost health as well?
They do still have the regen. I think I put the animation on it. You'll probably see the... Oh, maybe I didn't.
So they have shields.
But they do also regen, yes, like they do in the... And give an overheal, a health boost to nearby units. A health boost. They have shields, a health boost, and regen. So they're quite a versatile unit now.
That's awesome, because I was noticing that Aeon don't have a bubble shield unit, and I really felt like they needed something like that, and I'm glad you took care of that.
Yeah, and actually the Will Find Ya, a very neglected experimental that the Aeon rarely used, also has a bubble shield on it.
Nice. Did you do any other changes on that?
I gave the Will Find Ya a teleport, actually, so it's sort of...
useful?
it's quite versatile, yeah. And though, I mean, the teleport, it's somewhat balanced by the time it takes. It's like a 6-second teleport or something like that.
That's
in addition to that, with the range of all the other units, it still just has those pods that follow it around.
I see.
It doesn't have a lot of range. But I also I think I lowered the build time and the cost as well, so it's the cheapest experimental now and fastest to build. Nice. Followed by the Microlith.
I noticed some tiny projectiles coming from the factories. I take that as the tactical missile launchers, which look smaller, and they seem to have much better range, and they don't do as much damage as it seems like. It feels like they're a little bit more balanced there, where like right now, I think this factory would be dead with 2 tactical missile launchers firing at it.
Yeah, and not only that, I changed the pattern in which they fire, so the Aeon just fires like 1 missile or something every 10 seconds. But it's got a fair bit of health, so it takes a couple of tactical missile defense to shoot down each missile.
Oh.
Whereas the UEF, I don't think he builds TMLs on his factory, but if he were to, it fires like, I think, 1 missile every second or every 1.5 seconds, something like that. Like, they all do the same DPS, but they have different firing patterns.
That makes sense.
Just different factory, or different faction diversity.
I like that.
Yeah.
So, let me ask you a question about the TMDs. Do they actually work in this? Because I know in vanilla, they had a lot of problems.
For the most part, yes. They're not 100% perfect. I wasn't able to fix everything, but they work at least twice as good as they do in vanilla.
Well, that's good to hear, because I remember being painfully disappointed by the TMDs in vanilla. I'm not trying to criticize vanilla, but that upset me.
Well, it was somewhat of a necessity because also I gave the Aeon a long distance. Since they have no artillery, they now have a extra long range tactical missile launcher that I piggybacked onto the existing HoT unit, which was their Shield's EMP. It still has the same abilities as it used to, but now it also has a long distance, long range tactical missile launcher.
So let me ask you, do those toggle, or do they fire, and when they hit, they just do their EMP damage as well?
The default missiles that come from it are just basic TMLs, but you have to, just like in vanilla, you build a EMP missile and then launch it on its own.
Oh, so it's like a nuclear missile type of thing going on.
Yeah,
there.
Exactly. Yeah.
So you build
So
it.
it's the exact same as it is in vanilla, as far as the I know a lot of people don't use it because it's not really necessary, but
It's pretty much
same.
So it's pretty much a
Build it, let them
useless. So it's pretty much a useless. It's a useless item in vanilla, essentially.
Yeah. Well, it's very niche, very very niche.
Right. You might use it maybe 1 in 100, not even 1 in 100 games.
Yeah. And it would be like if the Cybran, it's not really useful against UEF because UEF usually spaces out their shields, versus Cybran, it's quite useful, I guess. But again, it's very very niche. You'd be better off just using units most points to take out shields. Speaking of shields, that's actually something I changed in the mod. I gave layered shields diminishing returns, so now you don't end up with these like infinitely powerful shield blobs like with the Siren adapters, where you can get like 100 adapters together and there's like absolutely nothing can penetrate them except for maybe an overcharge. Now there's diminishing returns on the shields. So, you know, the more shields you stack, the less worthwhile the 20th shield that it goes through is.
I definitely hated that, because I always found that to be ridiculous. I mean, I'm not trying to criticize Supreme Commander 2, that's not what this video is about, but I think it's inevitable that you would gripe about things that are just kind of annoying. Like
well, I played a lot of the vanilla game, like I said, so eventually, yeah, there's a lot of things that I just found sort of unbearable. And I put my mind to changing them and putting them in a package, and that's what you're looking at. This is just the beta of a version that's coming out shortly.
In March, right?
Early March. I'm going to try and do it, so, you know, a week or two from now.
Nice.
Yep.
So I'm
looking for any last-minute playtesters. If anybody wants to come and help out, that'd be great.
So do that, guys. Look in the description down below, or Google, like we mentioned, Supreme Commander 2 2013 mod. You should be able to get in contact with HoT quite easily on his Discord channel. He was just chilling there when I said what's up to him today. He actually walked me through installing the mod, so that's how cool he is about it.
Yeah, you're not the first one I've had to do that for either. So if anybody else is having problems with the mod manager or the mod, just come on to the Discord channel and I'll definitely give you a hint, or somebody else will be around too.
Yeah, I'm sure there's lots of people that are happy to help people and get this community, trying to get this community up and running. And I noticed the fat boys are firing slower.
They do. Their main guns are more like big battleship cannons now. So the main guns fire extra far and do extra splash damage, and their smaller guns don't engage until targets are a little bit closer, but they just shoot one target at a time type thing.
Nice.
And in addition to that, I changed only firing arcs on most of the experimental guns, so you won't see too often an experimental shoot through itself like you did in vanilla.
What do you mean by
like that?
What do you mean by shoot through itself?
Well, for example, the megaliths, both lasers, no matter which way you're facing, both lasers would always target. So say you're facing a broadside to a group of units, the laser that was on the opposite side of your megalith would shoot through your unit. It just looked awkward to me.
Yeah, and I noticed...
So you'll notice even the fat boys, like the turret that is furthest away from the units probably won't shoot through the unit, you know what I mean, until it gets to a certain arc.
Gotcha. And I've noticed that the megalith in the vanilla, it would also have really hard time tracking with that main laser.
Yeah, it just looked weird to me, to be honest. So anything like that, like for another example was field engineers for the UEF. They would shoot through themselves with their turrets. It just looked strange. So anything like that I've changed so that it just looks like you won't see a unit shoot through itself that often, unless it's one that I have neglected to do it for or couldn't get working properly.
Gotcha. And I noticed shots have shields, a bubble shield around them, and they also shoot farther.
They do. They shoot quite a bit further. Everything's been scaled up, so everything shoots further. Everything, though, the projectiles go faster, so they can't be dodged like they could in vanilla.
Nice. And I also noticed a whole bunch of tanks just coming out of nowhere from
that was my
temple.
space temple. The space temple, yep. And I've made that more useful as well in the mod. It's got a new ability that lets you instantly teleport 100 tanks into the battlefield at the location of the space temple itself in your base. I think we missed that because we were chatting away, but...
Right. Well, I just saw it happening, and we didn't talk about it until just now. And I've noticed...
So it's, you build multiple space temples now, not like in vanilla where typically you'd only build one because you only ever had to teleport, one group of units to somewhere and then the game would sort of be over. Now you have to build multiple because you can use that ability and it's sort of like a impromptu factory. And in addition, there's multiple battles on multiple fronts in the mod, so you often need to teleport units to more than one spot.
And 100 tanks don't look like a whole lot in this game.
Yeah, they've all been scaled differently, so it's for the amount of build time that I took off of them, like they'll still end up with a very similar to vanilla sort of ratio of DPS and to mass and build time, and health to mass to build time. And then I just changed the scale of everything so it looks a lot more epic, because let's be honest, vanilla was sort of made for the Xbox 360 or whatever it was at the time.
Was it?
I believe, that's my belief anyways, that it was sort of a console game that was ported to PC. And I tried to make it, so I turned that more into a PC-focused game. So it's a lot more resource-intensive. As you can see, there's a lot more units than there are in vanilla. It's probably I wouldn't recommend the mod unless you have an i-series processor, which hopefully everybody does nowadays.
I noticed...
I still play it on an i3, and I get the occasional slowdown in the biggest of big battles, but...
I noticed you have mini-me's on the field, and these mini-me's look like they deployed these tiny little things like what is it, the Witchfinders?
Yeah, like the Willfinder.
Willfinders, that's it.
Yeah, that's actually, you can upgrade your ACU, and it gets a little pod like that as well. It's a new ACU upgrade. There's a lot of stuff I've added upgrade and ability-wise to all the units and the research tree. So if you enjoyed Supreme Commander 2 or even Subcom 1, if you're a fan of either game, I would give the mod a shot because it's got sort of a unique blending of the two and with its own flavor added in.
And it also looks like those little, the upgrade things, the little pods, they're almost temporary.
They stay around the ACU or the SCU.
I see. So they don't really go very far.
No, they're just looking for stuff to shoot at, and if they don't find anything, then they come back.
Nice.
Yeah, the mini-me's are brand new to the mod. They're support commanders, and every faction has been given a support commander unit. It's one of the things I really missed from the original Supreme Commander was support commanders. You build them, though, just from a default factory in the mod. You don't need any special quantum gateway or anything.
But of course you research them, right?
You do need to research them, yes. And they are quite expensive.
They look very powerful, so the balance is the cost.
Yes, the cost and the build time.
Oh man,
your best bet. I don't recommend building them from any factory unless it's got the full 5-star or full 5-bar veterancy, where it gets the build bonuses.
Gotcha.
Like it does in vanilla.
So 3 of them just went down in I Am the Slaw's base, and I've noticed like some damage occurred, but it didn't just wipe his base out. Is that a balancing thing you put in there?
Yeah, it's sort of like they do enough damage if you were to jump them into a group of small T1 units. They do enough damage to take out a blob with the explosion, but it's not really enough to to assault people's base. It's sort of a waste of your SCUs if you're trying to just... You don't want to use them like that. You leave them in your base to build stuff, or use them with their overcharge and their support abilities, pretty much. And then use their explosion as like a last resort. Hey, they're about to die anyways, or get them the heck away from my friendly land blob, because when they explode, they do explode and damage friendly units.
So the capture tank model is a bigger Yenzu.
Yep, that's right.
With the
like
shield.
I said, I used all the default stuff from the vanilla version of the game.
Looks nice.
And that's why it's the mod itself is only 36 megabytes, I think, at the moment. So it's quite an easy download if you're bandwidth restricted. If you're a player that way, then it's really, really small. And also, that's beyond my skill to make new models at this point. So,
well, I'm sure that's much appreciated by the fan base.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at the HoT.
Mm-hmm.
They are...
Well, as I mentioned, that's the old shield EMP launcher. It now has a long-range tactical missile as well.
Yeah, they're firing like crazy.
It's a barrage, man. It's a barrage.
Yeah, they're not doing a horrible amount of damage either, so it doesn't seem like they're super overpowered. It just seems like they are annoying.
Yep, and their missiles actually are... each individual missile has quite a bit of health, so it takes a couple of tactical missile defense units to take them down. It's sort of my version of Aeon's artillery, but it's got some pluses and minuses to it.
It can
be shot down by TMD. Yeah, it can be shot down by TMD, but you do need quite a bit of TMD. They're more accurate than artillery, but they don't do quite as much damage or do as much splash damage. So I mean, it's give and take.
Right.
But Aeon also has other things. They have the space temple, for example, so you're not as reliant on artillery per se, because you can teleport your units anywhere, be mobile.
Nice. And I've noticed the planes seem to be a little bit higher in the atmosphere. Is that true, or am I crazy?
That's right. The air got a rework where they fly higher, but they can also land. So if you have definitely lost air supremacy, but you can group your fighters on the ground without them being in jeopardy.
Nice.
Yeah. But they do fly higher. They fly. They have slightly different physics as far as that goes. So and I should mention actually, bombers they actually do bombing runs now. So instead of just circling above a target and dropping a bomb every 3 seconds, you have to take them in and bomb something and then bring them back to your base to just reload their bomb pretty much. They don't have to go to a specific building to do so. They automatically reload it. But it does take like a good 60 seconds to do so.
So they're not
So
like
if you do play the mod and if you do play the mod and you're like, oh, why aren't my bombers bombing? It's because they only bomb on the first run and then they have to go back to, reload their bombs pretty much.
So they can do multiple runs, but it just takes about 60 seconds to
indeed.
fly back over.
Your best bet is to send them back to base, regroup them with any new bombers that you built in the meantime, and then go on another new bombing run.
So we're thinking realism here.
Yeah, sort of. And I mean, it's a good way. I found in vanilla there was really no functional difference between gunships and bombers.
Okay.
Whereas now, like you mentioned, all the bombers and fighters, they fly really high. Gunships fly really low to the ground.
So they're more susceptible to AA.
Well, exactly. Most of the AA in the game, in the mod, has a minimum firing arc, so it can only target things that are above, 15 degrees or 12 degrees. I forget exactly what it's set at.
Uh-huh.
So gunships can sneak underneath most AA and take out tanks and whatnot without fear, because they also are so low to the ground that their projectiles are guaranteed to hit the tanks and whatnot. Whereas bombers, they fly really high, their bombs no longer track like they did in vanilla, so it's harder to hit a land blob. They're more geared to structures.
Nice.
So it's some unit deviation, where bombers are now meant to, more attack bases, fortified bases, and gunships are meant to roam around and get the less fortified parts of the base, and any unguarded land blobs can get torn up by gunships.
And I also notice something that I really like here. The color of the Aeon point defense, that is gorgeous. Where'd you get that?
I just took the projectile and changed the projectile from the one that the tank used. I think it was the one that the tank used, and made it the one that the Urchinal used instead.
It is gorgeous. I love it. It reminds me of do you ever play Total Annihilation?
I love that game, dude. That's what the game that got me hooked on Chris Taylor's games in general.
Me too. So that reminds me of the blue laser of death. Do you remember that?
Yeah, like the Doomsday weapon or whatever
Yes,
it was.
yes. Yes, and the sniper bots from the arm, and the Doomsday weapon from the core. It was this blue deadly laser that just zaps everything.
Yeah.
So that's what that reminds me of.
The Aeon's got some pretty cool defenses actually in the mod. They've got the electroshock like they do in vanilla, but the electroshock now will target air units as well. So if you're getting raided by air, you can use your electroshock and shoot down any bombers or air experimentals or anything that comes in on you.
Wait, so they target air now?
Yes, the electroshock does. Yep.
That's rad.
As you can see, the point defense got a visual upgrade, as well as it shoots really far. And my favorite new addition to the Aeon defenses is the research stations. You can, if you're as a last-ditch effort, put a little portal on them, and they suck up units like the pull and smash would. So you can get rid of a lot of tiny little cannon fodder units.
Nice.
At a moment's notice, if you have the energy to do so.
That's pretty rad.
Yep. Just another little... I wanted to add a lot of little fun things as well, in addition to it being somewhat competitive. I wanted it to be fun as well. That's actually a really fun ability to use. I even one time rushed my ACU into Slaw was playing as Aeon, and I was UEF. And I rushed my ACU towards his base. And it's really hard to actually kill an Aeon base off the start because they have the regen on their mass extractors. So what I did was I went and captured his research station that he had built with my ACU, and then used the suck ability on it, and sucked up he had 3 engineers and maybe a dozen tanks, so his entire land force got annihilated, and he had no engineers left.
Right at the beginning.
Right near the beginning of the game, yeah. Sorry to embarrass you, Slav, but that was my favorite use of that ability.
So there's still some cheesy stuff in this game.
Yeah, but it's not. It's cheesy. Anything that's really cheesy that's gonna make you mad though is you'll find beyond the 20-minute mark. So at least you'll get to enjoy like a good land battle and have the chance to pull off your own cheesy thing against your opponent.
Nice. So
Yeah, it's not like TML rushes from Aeon. They don't really work as well as they did in vanilla. You know, cheesy stuff like that. Like, don't get me wrong, there's still some cheese, but it's yet to be found. If anything, it's really cheesy.
nice.
And that's why, again, I'd like to invite people to come and find the cheese in the mod. Please help me.
Please help, guys. Check out the Discord channel. HoT will be happy to help you out. And I'm noticing there's a barrage of TAC missile launchers going after this land gantry, and this single engineer is repairing it. And this land gantry will not die. That gave Slaw enough time to get out TAC missiles, TAC missile defense to actually do something about it. So I think that's a pretty cool balance, so that the land gantry didn't just get annihilated immediately.
Well, you'll notice too, the land gantry, it started, I think, with 20,000 health.
24,000, yeah.
Yeah, one of the things in vanilla is it never, structure upgrades never affected the land gantry.
Ah.
So I changed that, so now the gantries, as you upgrade your structures, at least with the star training, I don't think I applied it to the other, if there's any health bonuses in the other parts of the tree, I didn't make it apply, but at least for the star training, so now gantries can get up to 30,000 health.
Nice.
Late game, yeah.
Because I was noticing that land gantry was not dying after all those. I mean, it finally went down eventually, but
Yeah.
but it definitely took a while to take it out. So that's pretty rad right there.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like I'm even on my back foot right now. I'm not sure what time code are you at here?
I'm at 42.
Yeah, okay.
And it looked like you were on your back foot. Now it looks like
Yeah.
you are on the offensive. And I'm looking at this jackhammer here. I'm watching this jackhammer fire, and it fires quite fast.
Yep, it's more like a jackhammer now, where it like rat tat 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 tat, and then stops for a second and then
Nice.
shoots. Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah, no, that looks like that makes sense because
Yeah.
you know, jackhammer firing once. I mean, I guess it was just a name, but now it actually, oh my goodness, the damage it does. It just annihilated a whole group of units. It looked beautiful.
Yeah, that's the idea. It's another, fun unit to play with is the jackhammer for sure.
Nice. Yeah, I'm going in between having the UI on and off
Yep.
to just show the beauty of the game, as well as the, to see the icons so people know what the heck they're looking at, you know what I mean? Because it gets kind of confusing without sometimes.
For sure, yeah. Well, there is a lot going on in the mod. I mean, even just watching it, you can see there's a lot going on, but you gotta micro your units, you gotta build your base, you gotta make sure you're constantly building more research, building more factories, building more power plants, expanding to get all your mexes. Like, it's really back to being a sort of a more hardcore RTS, in my opinion, than vanilla was.
So it's a lot
That's
less arcadey.
Yeah, exactly. It's you got to be on the ball here, and as you can see, it's like there are some a lot more faction diversity. So like if you like being able to crush your opponent with research, then you should probably go UEF because it's got research overdrive. You can build fewer research stations and get more research. Or if you like building a lot of units and crushing your enemy with lots of tanks, then Aeon's the way to go because they got like really high-tech stuff. But at the same time, that high-tech translates into their economy by getting the mass extractor overdrive, so you don't get overrun by the UES research because you can build your own research with the extra mass that you get. And again, that ties into like the factories give you extra power, so you can run overdrive on your mexes. Like it sounds really like, oh, that's not going to be balanced or whatever, but in the big picture, most things feel really balanced at the moment. It's really quite a competitive experience, in my opinion.
Boom!
Like I said, there's still just waiting for people to come try it out.
And down goes Slaw, and I think people need to check that out. There was a few things I just noticed while you were talking that I thought were really cool. I
Yeah.
noticed 4 support commanders blew up around I Am the Slaw's ACU, and he didn't die. He actually went down to half health after 4 of them exploding. So that's a nice balancing right there. And it didn't destroy an experimental unit either. So I thought that was pretty good.
Yeah.
And the Universal Colossus, I mean, is there any changes on that?
Just to like some of the speed that it sucks up units.
Faster?
It spits them back out. Yeah, just a little faster. So it's it didn't. It looked a little funny with the. I expanded the range obviously, so that it fit with all the other tanks and stuff. So I guess that would be one of the changes as well. But no real new abilities on any of the majors as far as that goes. Just a change in the damage they do and the health they have and their range and thus their utility. Like they're more useful now than they were in the vanilla version of the game.
Nice.
Yeah.
I also noticed that fighters have less health right out the gate. Like fighter bombers, like the 500 hit points for the Weedu boats.
They build a lot faster than they do in vanilla, so you end up with like a huge air battles when you do get into air battles. It's like you get hundreds of units, and then they build so quickly that by the time that the next wave comes up, you get like another wave of 100 fighters going up against each other. Like you get these crazy air battles.
Nice. So what's the unit cap?
2013.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
That's great.
And it is. You can set it up to 5,000, but I mean, I wouldn't recommend it. Even the size of the game that we had there, we experienced a little bit of slowdown at one point, I think, when I teleported some units. So I mean, you don't want to. If the game doesn't really scale that well either with higher end systems, it's really locked into like a one core performance.
Gotcha. So there's not much you could do about that.
Yeah, it's an older engine. It's I think it's only 32-bit. It's not even 64-bit, so it can use only like a max of 4 gigs of RAM. So I mean, it's just limitations of the engine. So 2000 is a good unit cap if you have like an i-series processor.
Nice. Okay. All right. What does AMD? You talking about AMD? Do they make the octa-core? I think that's what I got. I think I got an octa-core. So those would be okay, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's if you didn't have much slowdown that game, did you?
Not a lot. No.
No. So I mean, as long as what you saw is honestly a pretty typical game as far as unit counts and whatnot go. If players are playing in that way, right? Like I can't hold people's hands and tell them how to play. Some players will just sit on their units till they have their unit cap. But where was I going with this? Like you want to try and use your units. There's no penalty for not. That's one thing actually I should mention. I took away research for kills on units. So just treat your cannon fodder like cannon fodder.
Ah.
You don't get and it doesn't matter if you lose a building here or there or anything like that.
So you don't get research for killing things.
That's right. The only research you get now is from your research stations.
You know, I also kind of dislike that because, like, when you were losing, you were really losing in vanilla because of that research boost, and I thought that was I always thought that was kind of lame.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons I took it out because I didn't really like it. I mean, there was there was a diminishing return mechanic built into it, so it was later into the game it didn't make as much difference, but I found most times at that point it didn't matter. Like, you just got that early snowball building up, and then it's sort of off to decide in the matches whoever got the first kill on the first 5 or 6 tanks, you know what I mean?
Right, yeah, especially in 1.2.5, it was like if the games are decided very early on in 1.2.5. A little less so in 1.2.6, but 1.2.5 was definitely had those problems.
Yeah. So anyway, it's just stuff I try to fix with the mods, so.
Yeah, it looks wonderful. I enjoy looking at it and watching this game. And, you know, again, we're not trying to criticize Supreme Commander 2 or anything like that, but we're just saying that HoT actually did something that he wasn't happy with about the game. So, and you are all invited to try it out and even test it out and tell this guy what you think. And he might even take your balancing ideas into consideration. So that is really cool, guys. So we got a developer right here for a mod, chatting about his mod, and he is down to talk to you. So Guys, don't hesitate. Check it out. It looks gorgeous. It looks like a totally brand new game. It's like a free game, guys. A free game given to you right there as long as you have the DLC and the vanilla Supreme Commander 2.
Yeah, and you got 10 minutes to download a mod and figure out a mod manager that works quite well. Then I invite you to, even if you don't want to come in the Discord and chat, even if you just want to play the game, the mod as you see it, be my guest.
Cool. So you don't even have to be part of the test environment. All you have to do is just play. HoT would be happy just to see you guys playing this mod.
Yep. So as I mentioned, looking to release the 1.2 version in early March. And if people seem to like it and it catches on, then I'll continue work on it, and you'll see version 1.3 or version 1.5, you know, with any balance suggestions that you guys come up with, any new units or ideas or anything like that.
Great.
And if it catches on, then you'll see future versions with more suggestions.
Great. So guys, if you want to see more of this, talk to HoT. Make it happen and show him that you are playing this. And if you know what, guys, feel free to send me your Supreme Commander 2 2013 mod replays to me, and be sure it's labeled as such, because if I don't know which one to launch, I'm going to have a bad time, if that makes sense to you. So guys, let me know what's up. And you know what? If you want me to cast this particular replay like I do with the other Supreme Commander 2 replays, let me know in the comment section down below, because I want to hear from you guys anyway. I want to hear what you guys' thoughts are about this mod, and be sure to be constructive, because nobody really benefits from any negative feedback said in a way that's kind of hateful and harmful to a person. So don't do that. Nobody likes that. But if you have constructive criticisms, feel free to put it in there, but always be respectful. Okay, guys?
Well, thanks for the opportunity, man. I had a lot of fun.
Yeah, thank you.
It's unfortunate, like you said, we didn't get to talk about the game as it was happening very much. We were more too busy talking about the mod. But
right, but it was still kind of like to get people interested and to check it out. So I think that we got the job done there. But I could definitely do that if people are interested in me casting it. So hit me up down below, guys. Let me know if you want me to do that, and also to see if you made it this far, because this is a super long video, and I usually don't upload videos this long, but for HoT, I'm doing it. And also, is there anything else you would like to, last things you would like to say to our viewers?
I'd just like to say thanks if you're still here. Thanks for holding on this long, and hopefully it means you're interested in the mod. So I'd just like to invite you once again for the millionth time to come and check out the Discord. Even if you don't have a microphone, just type in the text channels, and there's people there who will help you out to install the mods, answer any questions you have, take any balance suggestions, any of that stuff. And there's a spot even you can upload your replays to, and I'd love to see some other people's replays. It would help me to balance it out. So I think we've taken up enough of the people's time here, Steel.
All right. Well, guys, you heard the man. If you need help finding his mod, you could always hit me up as well. You could type in Google 2013 Supreme Commander 2 2013 mod. That should be easily found. And guys, be sure to like this video, subscribe to my channel, comment down below if you want me to cast this replay, and share it with your friends, family, and foes, because they need something interesting to watch as well. And as always, everyone, GG.